Eiffel Tower listeners, it is Oliver G here, the Australian mech in Paris, bringing you a little slice of the City of Lights every single week, every single Monday for, goodness me, it's been about 3 years. This episode is going to be a bit of a shorter one, a little bit more upbeat than last week, I'd say, but wow, what a week it's been. After I last spoke to you guys talking about how I wanted to, make this considered effort to be a little bit more diverse with this show and to help amplify the voices of people in Paris's black community. If you've got no idea what I'm talking about, go and listen to the last one. But since we talked about that, I think the very next day, my wife Lena and I had this discussion about how we could do something without just sort of saying words. Like a lot of people are talking at the moment. We didn't want to just add to the talk without actually doing something. So if you haven't noticed it, we launched this huge fundraiser. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about it. I feel like a lot of people will probably listen to this after the winners have been drawn, so I'm not going to push you to sign up. Although if you are listening before 9 p.m. on Monday, on the day this is released, then you can still get a ticket. But I wanted to talk to you more about the idea and how I think it could have sort of planted a seed for how this Eiffel Tower community can do good in the future, something I'm really excited about, Lena too. But let me just give you a background. So we were discussing how to do something a little bit more tangible. And well, the first thing I did is I'd reached out to a lot of prominent members of Paris's black community, people from America, like African Americans, people from other countries as well, like Jamaica, for example. And I just talked to them about it. And some of them sort of took me to task a little bit and said, Oliver, you had a very white show in the past years. And I listened and I talked to them about this idea about a fundraiser, and they were all like, yep, let's go for it. So what we did is I put together a bunch of prizes, really cool prizes, mostly featuring people from this black community. When I say I put together, let me just make it clear, I bought the prizes. I wasn't out here asking for donations. So I talked to, for example, Ajiri from Madame de la Maison, who does these amazing antiques. She finds antiques and then puts them online in a little shop. So I got a gift voucher for her. And I got a tour for 2 people doing wine tasting with Tanisha Townsend from Girl Meets Glass, who incidentally has a podcast, Wine School Dropout. You should check it out. And more prizes, like a gift pack from Yannick at My Parisian Life. We did coffee vouchers. Well, I say coffee vouchers, 50 euro vouchers. So you can get whatever you want, really, from the Peloton. Danielle there has been very active with everything that's been going on. Anyway, on top of that, we put in some prizes ourselves. Lena did a few watercolors, and I offered a walking tour and a special edition of my book. So the idea was put it all together, wanted to raise money, and one of the people who I'd been in touch with, her name's Monique, and she runs Entree to Black Paris, which is, she does walking tours for Black Paris, showing, like you probably at a glance maybe would imagine, Josephine Baker kind of things, James Baldwin, but a lot deeper than that. In fact, I went and did a walk with her recently. I'll talk to you about that in a second. But when I was back and forthing with her, inviting her on the podcast, saying I wanted to talk about this, she mentioned that she ran some charities, and one of them really caught my eye. It's called the Wells International Foundation. And I did a sort of deep dive into this charity, figured out what they do, and it's a lot about, supporting the black communities of the world, but also women's empowerment, arts, a lot of Paris. Like one of the projects they did is they brought a lot of black kids from the States over here to study art or to study the story of Buford Delaney, which, if you have no idea what I'm talking about here, it's an African-American painter, modernist painter who came to Paris and did a bunch of really cool stuff. So anyway, I took this deep dive into the charity, decided it would be a very good cause to support with the fundraiser. And my idea was, instead of tossing a penny into the well of the Black Lives Matter campaign, which maybe, we don't even really know what will happen with it, I wanted to make a difference that will be seen on the ground here in Paris, the city that we all know and love. So I started this fundraiser. I called it Paris Fans Can Make a Difference, I believe. And as I speak, in fact, I'm going to look it up as I'm recording this. The goal I put was to raise $1,000, which I talked to Monique on the phone. She said 1,000 would make a huge difference. That would be exciting. Go for it, Oliver. And in about 3 or maybe 4 days since we launched it, it's got up to $9,150, which is gobsmacking and bamboozling. That's going to end in a couple hours from when I'm recording, but that's not the point, because obviously it's probably ended by the time you listen to this. The point is more how touched I am that this community can band together like that when a call to action is being put out, especially an important one like this, and make a really tangible difference. Like really tangible. Like it might get to 10,000, who knows, but even 9,000, that's incredible. So thanks to all you people who donated or shared the message. But in terms of a little bit of entertainment for you guys, maybe some of you guys don't know, I do a lot of YouTube videos as well, live YouTube videos. In fact, if you read my book, you'll see that's how I turned this podcast from a hobby into a job, by doing YouTube videos, pretty much, or at least videos. And this week, in fact, over the past 24 hours, I've done a bunch, including an intro to Black Paris with Monique Wells, which was a really interesting, educational, and touching video. So we started at the Luxembourg Gardens and walked all the way to Montparnasse, a lot of places I'd never been. She stopped. I really encourage you, if you're even remotely interested in Parisian history, you'll learn something that you haven't. For example, one of the things that I had no idea about, there's this Carpeaux fountain at the edge of the Luxembourg Gardens, or I suppose it's just a bit south of it. This lovely looking fountain, most people probably just glance at it, but there's statues at the top representing women from 4 continents. And Monique pointed out to me, I didn't even see it, I assume 99% of you guys never saw it either, but under the woman who's representing Africa, on her heel or her ankle is a chain tied to her ankle. And the chain trails down past the foot of the woman who represents America or North America, and that woman is standing on the chain. So it's like this really subtle but really powerful, and it's interesting in how subtle it is. It kind of makes it more powerful. But Monique was explaining that and what it meant, and I guess you can figure out what it meant. But like these parts of Paris that are really easy to miss. And we did this whole walk, like a 2-hour walk, and she was just a really lovely person. But if you want to learn something, go and watch that. But that night, if you want to learn something else, a bit more alcoholic, perhaps we could say, I did a blind wine tasting with Tanisha Townsend from Girl Meets Glass, who I mentioned before. And we sat on one of the lovely balconies of the Paris Perfect Rentals. And Lena, my wife, and I, we were blindfolded, and we had to try and guess what we were drinking and what we could smell. And it was really entertaining. And Tanisha is a riot. So I can recommend you go and watch the replay of that. It's all on YouTube. But the reason I was doing these videos was to bring attention to the charity, but also to help amplify the voices of people who are doing cool things in Paris, like Tanisha and Monique and all the others I mentioned too. Now, like I said, how this is kind of interesting and could have a longer tail beyond supporting Black lives and indeed this Wells International Foundation is Lena and I had a long walk along the river, which was pretty lovely and romantic anyway. But we were thinking how we could use these platforms we've been fortunate enough to have to do good around Paris. And I'm really interested in your thoughts on this, everybody. But I was thinking, like, knowing that there are hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of you out there who love Paris and want to see good things happen. Like, imagine if every now and again I could talk to one of the mayors or whatever and say, hey, what have you got projects for the betterment of Paris that need a little financial attention? I'm just imagining, imagine the mayor of Montmartre said, oh, well, if only we could, I don't know, I'm just making this up, but if only we could reopen the old Montmartre cinema, but if only we had $9,000. And I'd say, well, Monsieur le Maire, I think we could probably help there. I could kind of see something like that happening. And I think what would be really lovely about those future kind of projects would be that we could all see we could see the changes we made. So that's something that could come out of all this that I'm kind of excited about. If you follow all the social media channels, I do a lot of promoting of the guests who've been on the show or the book that I've written or to subscribe on Patreon. But I think, it's really nice as well to push attention towards things that need attention. like desperately need attention. So yeah, maybe that could be something that comes from the Eiffel Tower in the future. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to keep this one short. It'll be back to entertainment, information, and education and interesting podcasts next week in the usual format. I'll keep this one short today to give you time to go and read, listen, and learn, like I said last week. But also, if you're listening to this quickly, maybe you have time to jump in and buy one of those raffle tickets for $10 because the prizes are incredible. Maybe we'll make it to 10,000. Who knows? But thanks to all who have donated. Thanks to all who listen to this show. And have a lovely week wherever you are. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.